Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Pastor Shay, aka Chaplain G, coming at you with another word of encouragement for today, man. So, we are going to continue in our Holy Week series that we've been doing, and today is Spy Wednesday. And it's like a weird day to try to commemorate because it's actually looking back on the day when Judas Iscariot handed Jesus over to be crucified, right? He is kind of like an infiltrator in the group, and he goes to the chief priests and everybody that were trying to kill Jesus. And basically, looking in Matthew chapter 26, right, it says, then one of the 12, whose name was Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, what will you give me if I deliver him over to you? And they paid him 30 pieces of silver. And from that moment, he sought an opportunity to betray Jesus. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, man, how do you turn this into a word of encouragement when you got one of Jesus's homeboys, one of his road dogs? Like they rolled 13 deep and they went everywhere together, right? Like these supposed to be his boys for 3 years. And he just comes through and he sells the dude out. And I got to thinking about it. That kind of stuff happens to us, man. Like we got people in our lives that are supposed to be cool, that's supposed to be with us, that's supposed to be like, you're supposed to be my ride or die. And they just kind of sell us out sometimes. Has that ever happened to y'all? I know it's happened to me. In the cool part, the word of encouragement that I wanted to give you with that, there's this verse in the book of Hebrews that talks about how Jesus is able to sympathize with our weaknesses because he's lived in this life. It's not just that he's God and he's far removed, like he set. Some people think that God set creation into play and then let evolution just kind of do its thing. Nah, God is intimately involved in the lives of people. And when what Hebrews is saying, that when Jesus came in the flesh and he went through all these things, one of the things he went through was the betrayal of a close friend. So he's able to sympathize with our weaknesses, and we can see how Jesus treated Judas. It's not that he just kind of made him be on the outside. It's not that he always like kept an eye on him. It was actually with him and Judas actually had an opportunity. He could have come back to Jesus. You had these two dudes in Jesus' life, and both of them would end up turning their back on Christ. Actually, all the disciples did, but two people in particular, right? You had Judas Iscariot, and then you had Peter. So Peter, Jesus rolls up on Peter and says, yo, Pete, my man, like, you say you got my back, all this whoop-de-whoop, but when push comes to shove, like you're gonna deny me like 3 times before the morning even comes. And we'll see that a little bit later on as we get into the story. But you got these two dudes. You got Judas that turns Jesus over for the price of a slave, 30 pieces of silver. And you got Pete, who he sees Jesus, he knows what Jesus says, and he just leaves him. He leaves him to be arrested in the garden. So you got these two stories, right? Judas actually goes on to hang himself. Peter ends up asking for forgiveness, and Jesus welcomes him back in. Judas had that opportunity, but the pride and the non-belief that Judas expressed in his life kept him from receiving who Jesus was. And so my word of encouragement to you, don't be Judas. One is to watch out for Judases in your life. Like, watch out for those people that they say you're your friend, but they look for opportunities to kind of undermine you, right? Always be on the lookout for those kind of folks. But 2, don't be a Judas. Like, don't be two-faced. Have some integrity in your life. Be more like Peter, that when you make a mistake, own up to it. Ask for forgiveness. Come back into a relationship, not only with God, like that's always going to be up there, right? But with other people too. Like, don't be one of those people that when you make a mistake, your pride gets in the way, you can't offer an apology. Don't be Judas. That's my word of encouragement for today. With Jesus, there was always this planned out thing that he had to be handed over to the officials so that they could put him to death. It was the plan from the very beginning. Actually, from the beginning of time, what we see is this was the plan. This last week of his life was the plan the whole time. He had to be put to the cross so that he could take on the punishment of his people that they deserved, but he didn't want them to endure because he knew they couldn't endure it. So he took it onto himself and said, I love you so much that I'm not going to let you go through that. I'm going to take your unrighteousness and give you my righteousness. So that's what people all over the world are celebrating today. The handing over of Jesus by Judas, yeah, it was a sucky thing, man, but it was necessary in order for us to come back into a right relationship with God. So don't be Judas. It's my word of encouragement. But man, I love y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this very brief word of encouragement for today. And as always, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit me up if you want to talk about this stuff further. But I love y'all, man, and I hope y'all doing good. Grace and peace.